Greetings, YouTube! The Doctor is in. Dr. Urias Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Dungeons & Dragons. And a day ago, yesterday, by Riley Silverman, we got this article that came out, so we're going to take a look at it. This is the changes that are some key changes. 4 key changes to spells in the 2024 Player's Handbook. They give us clues. They don't tell us everything, of course, because they want you to buy the book, of course. But, I mean, there's some key things that they have said they're changing, which some of this stuff I do like. I'm just hoping that certain spells, like Shield, for instance, don't get changed too much. So let's take a look. So all these articles start out with some kind of introduction flavor type of paragraph, and then these are the things that they're going to change. There's hyperlinks to each one of the areas. There's a video. There's a obligatory advertisement for their bundles, and then we get some pictures. So this looks like a druid healing someone, or maybe a nature type of cleric healing someone. It's a Goliath that looks pretty messed up. Some of these pictures look pretty rough, though. I like crisp pictures, and I like kind of comic book style pictures. So one of the first things that long-term D&D players will notice when perusing the almost 400 spells, and if you haven't checked out, I have reviewed every single spell that is on D&D Beyond, except for some of the Matt Mercer specials. But the other ones I have looked at, and it was like 27 pages worth of spells. So many of your favorite spells have been buffed up. So that is to remain to be seen. So your healing spells will keep you and your allies on your feet longer to reflect the cost of your action or bonus action. And they're talking about Cure Wounds or Healing Word. So Cure Wounds now heals 2d8 plus your spellcasting modifier, where before it was a 1d8, but you could increase it by 1d8 per level. So hopefully they're going to keep the at higher levels part in that. Healing Word, which used to be it's a bonus action, d4 plus your spellcasting modifier, and you could upcast it, is now a 2d4 plus your modifier. So that's great. I like that a lot. It's not just dice increases. Many spells received a new element of functionality. Prayer of Healing, which takes 10 minutes, now grants the benefits of a short rest to up to 5 creatures, in addition to restoring 2d8 hit points. This one before, up to 6 creatures got 2d8 plus your spellcasting modifier, and then you could upcast it. Hopefully they didn't take the upcast away, but the thing of getting a short rest is massive. That is a massive, massive, massive buff to this. So I like that quite a bit. I think that's going to make some of the classes that get these spells pretty important. Damage dealing spells have seen several boosts, so they highlight a Cloud of Daggers change. So Cloud of Daggers, you would create a bunch of spinning daggers in a 5-foot cube, and it did damage when a creature enters the spell for the first time on their turn or starts there. You couldn't move it. So it had a range of 60 feet, and then it was just there. You could up the damage, but it was just there. Now, one of the great things about this spell is you could actually push things into it. So when it enters the spell's area for the first time on a turn, not its turn, but a turn, and then when it starts its turn, so you could push it in off its turn, and then it would start its turn there and take the damage again. Now, let's see here. But that's a thing of the past, because now you can cast a magic action. You can use a magic action on your later turns to move the cloud up to 30 feet. That makes this... So this is a second level spell that you can upcast. That makes this spell pretty awesome. So it now makes it so that you can move it so something will start their turn in it, or you can push something in there which will trigger the damage, and then they'll start their turn. So I think that's all cool. I think that's pretty cool stuff. So this gives it a little bit more strategic value. Chromatic Orb has been updated with the potential to strike an additional enemy Right now, Chromatic Orb, a first level spell, which does require, I believe, a 100 gold piece pearl, allows you to hurl it. It's a roll to hit, and it does damage, which you can upcast. Striking additional enemy, I think for the 100 gold that you have with it, I think that makes it a lot better. So really embracing the dodgeball vibe, or chucking a magically infused sphere at your enemies. Okay. Number of spells that saw little use from 2014's version also saw some tweaks to make them more functional and enticing for you to add to your repertoire. So Blade Ward. Blade Ward was pretty much only good with the Earth Genasi, who got it for free as a bonus action. Because if you took the spell, it was an action, and then on your next turn, you had resistance, which just was horrible. So Blade Ward, what did they do with it? It was a fairly underused cantrip, but it cost an action, only lasted a turn, and only granted resistance to bludgeoning. Now, while it takes a magic action, that sounds like a new kind of action, by the way. This cantrip lasts for a full minute with concentration, which is fine. That's great. And forces enemies attacking you to subtract a d4 from their attack roll for the duration. I think that's also great, too. I think I would rather have this than have the resistance. You can really proc up your AC and cause enemies to miss pretty readily. It's almost like a free kind of micro bane spell. Okay, then we get a cool picture here. Again, I'm not sure why there's reading glasses on here. Those are not glasses. Those are reading glasses. They are on this person's nose. They are not looking through the full glasses. I don't know, maybe Martina Farkova, she's got a character that uses that. She thinks it's cool. I actually looked at some of her art. Her art is really crisp. I do like these pictures. She does like a lot of vampires. If you go to her Instagram page, really crisp pictures, really kind of comic-y. And when I say that, I mean like comic book-like, pretty cool stuff. I'm just not sure about the reading glasses, but I put my own version of what I think in the as the thumbnail for this. So I thought that was pretty cool too. So speaking of looking up your favorite spells, it looks like we're getting a quality of life update to the book. Now you no longer need to flip to the back of the book to see what spells are available for your class. Each class has its designated spells listed in the class descriptions for the class itself in the character classes chapter. So if you're building a cleric, the list of cleric spells is right there in the same section as your class features and domain subclasses. So this is a feature of some other books. Pathfinder does this as well, where they have a list of spells. They have it in the spell chapter. So before they go into the description of the spells, there is a list of divine spells, arcane spells, primal spells, and occult spells. And then those are the lists that you draw from. So I think this is pretty good. Although I think that since they're going so digital with all of this stuff, that this does this anyway. So D&D Beyond does this anyway. When you go in, you can queue for certain classes of spells. So it's nice that they're doing it for a book for people who want a book. I haven't really touched a D&D book for a very long time. I would say, gosh, I probably haven't touched an actual book for D&D for 5 or 6 years since D&D Beyond popped up. And, I use that as my source. And it's very easy to query everything in there. So one of the big missions in revisiting spells was to listen and address questions and confusions players have around various spells. In the decade since the 2014 Player's Handbook was first published, we tightened up wording in some spell descriptions to make them clear and more succinct without changing the actual mechanics. Hopefully they did something about Hunger of Hadar, because that's super confusing. We provided more artwork of the spells to use to give you more inspiration for imagining how the spell works. Okay, that's all kind of flavor. The ritual tag has now been moved to the casting time to make it easier to find, since it impacts the casting time of the spell. Okay, as an example, the Conjuring family of spells such as Conjure Fey and Conjure Celestial, again, these have this little thing that says the GM has the celestial statistics, or the GM has the Fey statistics, or conjure animal. The GM has the beasts statistics. They never really said if you got a choice or not. Now, if you go to the Sage Advice Compendium, the Sage Advice Compendium has a change in it that the GM can, they use the word can choose the creature for you. You have to have a discussion with the GM about that. So hopefully they've kind of cleared that up. So they have been updated to officially reflect popular modifications that were play tested in Unearthed Arcana. The new versions of the spells now give you all the information you need when casting them in the spell descriptions themselves, like what damage they deal or what the save DC is for their abilities. This saves you from cracking open the monster manual to track your conjured creature's information and makes them operate more similar to spirit guardians or spiritual weapon spells. So I guess they're going to put a stat block. This may have a generic stat block in it instead, as the summon spells do. So the summon spells all allow you to summon a generic stat block creature. It usually gives you like 3 choices, maybe 4 choices, and each one of those choices has something different. So I think they're going to keep doing that. All right, let's see. The 2024 Player's Handbook introduces some brand new spells to the spellbook. Some of these sound pretty cool, like Starry Wisp Cantrip, which were included in the Unearthed Arcana playtests. Some of the brand new spells include ties to the known spellcasters within the D&D multiverse, so flavor stuff. Tasha, also known as Igwilv from Greyhawk. Tasha's Bubbling Cauldron creates a magical cauldron for 10 minutes that you and your allies can reach into and grab vials of common and uncommon potions of your choice. Boy, if that spell comes out like that, that's pretty powerful. That's pretty powerful. Because people are not going to just be picking healing potions. They're going to be picking other stuff. Jalarzi, a celestial patron warlock with the distinction of being a non-wizard member of the Circle of Eight, which is a group in Greyhawk, has the powerful namesake spell Jalarzi's Storm of Radiance. This creates a raging 40-foot cylinder storm that deals radiant and thunder damage. Okay, it also gives creatures within it the blinded and deafened condition. Hopefully they change this a little bit because nobody cares about that. And makes them unable to cast spells with a verbal component. This is pretty big. You know, I'm hoping these spells are probably 5th or higher, I would guess. Popular spells from the expanded source books have also now become part of the core spell list, like Toll the Dead, so that gets used a lot, and that's good. All right, we've got a new area of effect called Emanation. Emanation is a new area of effect joining known types like cone, line, and sphere. An emanation spell extends in a straight line in all directions from a creature or object and moves with them if the spell's duration is longer than instantaneous. So it's like a field of energy all around you. So emanation differs from a sphere in that the point of origin is not considered part of the area of effect. Okay, so the person that it's emanating from is not going to be affected by the spell. Known spells as like Thunderclap or Spirit Guardians are now classified as emanation spells. So Spirit Guardians comes out from the caster, which is a great spell. I hope they don't change it. So they said with almost 400 spells, so not quite 400 spells, spread across over 100 pages, we've clearly only scratched the surface. I'm going to guess, because they said that the Player's Handbook is going to be pretty beefy in page number, and I'm going to guess that this takes up probably a third to half of the book. So we've clearly only scratched the surface of the exciting changes coming into your spell casting. We will have to see what happens. Of course, they want to advertise that you can buy everything. So again, we get another illustration here. It looks like an elven cleric of some kind is burning. I can see some fangs and pointed ears in some of these guys, so maybe they're vampires or something. All right, and then we got a wizard with a pseudo-dragon with a wand casting, it looks like this spell, Jalarzi's Storm of Radiance on some Varrock demons, also known as Type 1 demons in Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. Again, I think this is pretty cool. I would get rid of the glasses. So this is pretty cool, too. Very straightforward. Okay. Pretty straightforward. I'm not really going to rank this because there's really not anything in here to rank. They're just giving us a flavor of some of the changes they're going to make to spells. I do like that they're changing things like Blade Ward to make it more useful. Hopefully they change things like Expeditious Retreat. Hopefully, one thing I would like to see changed is Detect Evil or Detect Good and Evil. I would, because that doesn't really detect good and evil. So they need to redo that spell so that it at least makes sense. Because it detects Celestials, I believe Celestials, Undead, Elementals, and Fiends. So, yeah, there is that. All right, that is what I got for everybody. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody later.